Hello everyone, this is ST Patrick and we are doing a little bit of matchup basketball tonight. I'm going to show you two teams from the set we released today, and what we're going to focus on really right now is just the pregame stuff because I think it is so important. It will not take you as long as it's going to take me this evening, because as we go through there are some things that I want to explain to you, like I said. And I want to sort of lay out the reasons for doing some things as well. I have a score sheet. That's one of the smaller ones. I thought I had some of the ones without the score tracker, without this part right here. If you use the score sheet option that is on both our Facebook group and the Delphi group, without the score trackers, all of this is expanded outward, so you have much more space. So that's what I use, and then I keep a scorekeeper on the phone. So that makes it a lot easier for me. You can also use a 3D scoreboard as well. There are some good ones out there by Victor Wetzel and by Al Wilson. You can use those. Always a good idea. But I want as much space as possible on the score sheet, so I use the ones without the score tracker. So let's just say tonight we have Dallas against LA. So first, the visitor is going to be Dallas. Home is going to be LA. We can see the whole score sheet. I'll just explain to you what we're doing. Power number is right here. Dallas is a power 6. I think LA is a point higher than that. They are. The road rating for Dallas right here is a 7. The home rating for LA is a 7. So that will just be a straight up 1d6 roll. The clutch scores for Dallas is a 7. This may not come in until the very end of the game, when the game is 5 points or less with under 5 minutes. LA has a clutch of 5. So if it gets into clutch time and the card is clutch enabled, which is the copyright symbol, it's got a C and a circle around the C. If you pull those cards, the team with the highest clutch score automatically wins that card. If the game is 5 minutes, which is tick 29 in the last quarter of the game, which you can see it right here, it's a gray box. If you're in the gray box or afterward and the game is 5 points or less apart, Dallas wins those cards automatically. Offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. Dallas has an offensive rebound percentage of 24, which on your chart, which is inside the book, and it's also on the back of the quick reference chart as well. You just go 24 right here. Los Angeles has a defensive rebounding percentage of 72, which is right here. You find the point where they meet, and that is a 5 and a 7. 5 and 7. Now, you can write the other numbers right here for the defense, but you don't really need to, because you basically know that if it's not these two numbers, it's a defensive rebound. So you really just need those. Let's go opposite. LA's offensive rebound is a 29, which goes on this line. Dallas's defensive is a 75, which goes on this line. You pull it over, it's the same number. It's 5 and 7. So both teams roll a 5 or a 7 on a rebound battle. They will get the rebound on offense. Same things. You write Dallas, LAL. This is where you keep the scores. All the ticks are right here. So you're going to keep the timing right here. Again, in matchup basketball, you don't have to worry about how many cards you have out, how many cards in a deck, or if you're turning the card at the right time. Those are pretty good mechanics, right? I like the fact that in Bank Shot Basketball or in History Maker Hoops Prime Time, you can sort of keep the timing by the card stack. In Strat as well, you can keep the timing by the size of the card stack. But the problem is I see so many people out there that are like, okay, how many cards was it again? And then how many cards for college as opposed to pro? And then is my stack going to change by era? And what if the team is a slow playing team and a fast era, or a fast playing team and a slow era? And I just thought, let's just not have anyone worrying about how many cards you're supposed to start with. So you just grab a handful of cards, and that's how you start. make sure to shuffle. We've talked a little bit about this online as well, but with over 300 cards, shuffling is a big issue because apparently the way GameCrafter prints their cards out, they print them in order. They didn't used to do that. You used to get a random smattering of all the cards in some kind of random order. But because they are printed in order now, what you're getting is all of the like cards are by each other all the way through the entire stack. So if you don't really shuffle it super well, and I mean super well, the stats could be a little bit off because you're probably getting too much of certain kinds of cards and not enough of the others. And that can be a statistical issue. You want to make sure that you're probably getting quite a few take a shot cards throughout the game. And by quite a few, I mean really quite a few. There isn't a percent amount on the dot that you should have in each game because I wanted there to be variety. And it does depend on how you shuffle. But you should still always be getting quite a number of take a shot cards. If you don't get quite a number of take a shot cards, it'll impact things like rebounding, like field goal percentage. Your field goal percentages may be too high or they may be too low. Your offensive rebounding numbers may be too low because on the take a shot charts, on all the missed shots, you're going to go into a rebounding battle where the offense rolls to see if they get the rebound. And so you definitely want to make sure that you shuffle really well. We have a shuffler that is wireless. You basically charge it up via a USB cord. And you can imagine how often I shuffle cards, and I've only had to charge it twice in about the last year. So it's a pretty great wireless one if you can find that. I always hated the ones where you had to hook in a wire and then leave the wire hooked up and then the wire's in the way and it's a mess. I'll try to post this actually. The card shuffler we have right now is phenomenal for just staying charged and holding a charge. Team fouls, Dallas, LA. Timeouts, Dallas, LA. And the need of 3 is right here, okay? Your need of 3 numbers are right here. So Dallas can manually shoot 4 3-pointers. LA can manually shoot 3 3-pointers. I would use these in the game. If you look at your need of 3 chart, and you think, man, my team doesn't really shoot it that well on the need of 3 chart, then I would use them early. I would use them very early in the game, or at least use them in the first half at some point. If they shoot it well, you can kind of use it more strategically. But this is how many times in the game can you, rather than pulling the next fat card, you say, I'm just going to shoot the 3. Okay, you get to choose to shoot it that many times. It is basically a spectator game, but we still wanted some kind of coach's autonomy at some points in the game, and that is one of them. Okay, this is important. Now we're going to talk about lineups. Let's go with Dallas. We'll just get names in here first. The starters: Kidd, Stevenson, Butler, Nowitzki. These would be the world champion Dallas Mavericks, who beat Miami in the championship that year. They were not supposed to beat Miami because the Heatles were supposed to be unbeatable, if you remember, in their first year. Derek Fisher, Bryant, World Peace, a.k.a. Ron Artest. Lamar Odom is the 6th man, actually. So we're going to put Joe Smith is going to start this game. He won't start many. And we're going to put Pau Gasol. Odom is a power forward. We're going to put him at PF2. So who are the backups? This is important. You can do this a number of ways. you can play as played, okay? Let's just say you want to go on to Basketball Reference, find out which guys actually played that night, and then fill in your lineups that way. For pro basketball, it works best when you have 12 men on the roster that night. You'll have a PG1, SG1, SF1, PF1, CE1, and then their backups will be your PG2, your SG2, your SF2, your PF2, your CE2. And then you have the last two guys, which can be from any spot on the court. Okay? So if you play as played, I'm going to ask you a philosophical question at this point. What does as played actually mean? So, are we just talking about the starting lineups? If you say, I want to play as played, are we talking about that you can only play the starters and the backups who played that night in a baseball game? Do you run your bullpen as played as well? Or do you play an as played lineup and then you choose the bullpen and then you choose the pinch hitters and you choose the pinch runners? I would argue if you're wanting to play as played, I would use the as played starting lineups and then I would fill out the reserves. And the reason I would do this is because to have less reallocation in the game, and you don't want to have to do a lot of reallocation if you don't have to. To have less reallocation in the game, you definitely want to have 10 to 12 guys on the roster that night. And then I would ask you again, what does as played mean? Well, does as played in baseball mean that you can only play the guys who played that night, or that you start with the same roster the team started with that night, and some players will play and some players won't? Especially in baseball, I would argue out of the bullpen. Some players play, some players don't. In basketball, maybe if you're going to play as play, you should think about it the same way. We still need a roster. Like, there still has to be a roster for that night. Even if a lot of them don't see a lot of action at all. And a lot of the guys at the bottom will not see a lot of action. But we're making the roster because, in essence, in this game, you will not have to sub at all. It, like matchup college football is, it will call on the players automatically off the cards and off the charts. So if you're constantly having to worry about, okay, who do I have to sub? I got to get him in. I got to get him out. I got to get him in. This automated way will sort of handle it for you. And it does work out. Now, if you can look right here, I don't know how well you can see this, but there is an out column right here. And if you want to, you can actually go down that column, roll a 2d6 and determine if a player is out that night or not. So you could do it that way. If you want to say, if you want them to be out about the right amount of times that they were actually out that year, you can do that. And so in what order would I roll? Would I just start with the point guard 1 and just go straight down? At times, yes. At times, I would start with the point guard 1 and just roll straight down until 3 guys are out, and that will leave you with 12. Other times, I would start at the bottom and go up. Other times, I start with the top reserve right here and go down and then do the starters. I mix and match. I mix it up if I want to do it that way. The third way that you can determine who's in the game is to just make it up. Is to do what we're basically going to do right now. We're just going to say point guard 2. Let's stay with Steve Blake. Wait, that's LA. Stay with JJ Barea. Oh, I hate making scratches on score sheets. SG2, let's say, is Jason Terry. SF2 is Sean Marion. PF2, or power forward 2, is Pavlovic. CE2 is Haywood. And then for the 11th and 12th players that night, we're going to play Beaubois. And we're going to play Corey Brewer. Okay, and for LA, we will have Steve Blake as the backup point guard. The backup shooting guard will be Shannon Brown. The small forward backup will be Matt Barnes. You might watch his podcast. He's got a pretty decent podcast right now. The power forward back up, we already put Lamar Odom. The center, Andrew Bynum, who had actually a lot of time on the court. 11th and 12th men will be Ebanks and Character. Okay, so now, as you've read in the rulebook, and I have to assume, at least at this point, that this game is not brand new to you, that you have downloaded the rulebook on our Facebook page or our Delphi page and have at least gone through it and recognize a few of the concepts. If you haven't, there might be some areas here where you're lost. I'll try to explain it well, but you'd be a lot better off by reading. And if you're someone out there who hasn't read anything and you're expecting to learn this game just from what I'm going to post over the next week, you probably won't be able to. I think reading is important, and I think reading rules is important, and you should be doing that. So we have key players in the game, okay? You can designate before the game begins or at the start of overtime. Key players A, B, C, and D. Now, is this total input? No. It is, I would say 90% of it is based upon scoring average, and it should be for you as well. But let's look at a few examples. Are suggested, and they are suggested on the roster. For Dallas, the suggested is to have Dirk Nowitzki as your key player A, Jason Terry as your key player B, Caron Butler as your key player C, and Sean Marion as your key player D. That's A, B, C, and D. For LA, obviously Bryant will be your A, Gasol will be your B, Lamar Odom will be the C, and Andrew Bynum will be the D. You notice that they all do not have to be starters. There are cases where some backups are in the team's top 4 in scoring average. So now you're like, well, what if I want to switch these up? What if I want to give Kobe Bryant A and D? Can I assign 2 to him? Theoretically, yes. However, I can tell you that you're probably going to get Kobe Bryant is probably going to have too many stats along the way. So now you say, well, what about that Toronto game where Kobe scored all the points and all this? And I say, okay, yes, when we get to that season, there will be a suggestion to possibly roll for it. Or when they play Toronto in your schedule on that night, I would make him maybe an A and a C for that one night. When you double up the key player designations, you're really talking about someone like Wilt Chamberlain in 1962 in the pros, where he scored like 50 points a game, okay? You're not talking about the year that Larry Bird is scoring 26 points a game or 28 points a game. You're not even really talking about Michael Jordan scoring 30 points a game. That's not where you want to have multiple key player spots, right? You may do it a couple times a year and it'll still work. If Jordan is going into Madison Square Garden and you want to say, okay, we prepared this whole week or for 3 days or whatever for Jordan to have a night and you want him to be A and D. I don't have a problem with that. If you have a matchup like that, I don't have a problem with that at all. It is not something that you want to do often at all, or it's going to throw some things off. But, and this is the really cool thing about doing that, if you think that I've talked bad about doing that so far, I'm going to tell you the really cool thing about doing that is it's also how we handle outlier games, okay? So if you want Wilt Chamberlain to get his 100-point night in most other basketball games, it may or may not be possible. In this game, it is possible. If you play that game on that night, you could make Wilt A, B, and C, or you could make him A, C, and D, or if you just want to experiment and go crazy, you can make him A, B, C, and D on that one night. And he may very well get to 100 points. It is possible. But again, this has only happened one time in the entire history of basketball in the NBA, and so you definitely don't want to make it a common occurrence. On most nights, he would be possibly A and D. There's actually a chart in the FAQ of the rulebook that discusses Wilt Chamberlain in the pros and Pete Maravich in college, who averaged 40 points a game. And I would say that's a pretty good marker. I would say 40 points a game is probably where you're wanting to be to where you're doing multiples, like you're doing A and D. So now you're saying, well, what if I don't want Dirk to be the A, or what if I don't want Bryant to be the A for that night because I've planned the game another way as a coach? Hey, that's cool, right? I'm totally cool with that. In fact, there will be times where you have a team, and I'm going to draw this out for you, so I hope this works out, and I hope you can see it. I do have a Sharpie. There will be a player who is the top scorer on the team, and this is going to happen more in college than in the NBA, but in the set that you may have now, if you look at Detroit, they have pretty balanced scoring as well. So let's just say you have players, and the top scorer on your team is averaging 18.4. Let's say, and then the next scorer is averaging 16.9, 16.4, 15.9, 15.2, 14.1, 13.2. So you can see the top 7 players right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. 7 players are pretty close. So how do you keep every game from this being A, this being C, this being A, B, C, and D, and then these not being a key player at all? You just rotate, right? So this may be game 1. And then maybe I think, well, 18.4 is really the best on the team. Maybe I do want that the next game to be A again. And then I go B, C, D, like that. And then maybe I want it to change up completely. And maybe I go 1, 2, A, B, C, D. And then I just go down 1, A, B, C, and D, and these are 3. And you figure out some kind of a rotation for that team where you're looking like this. What you'll end up with, if you do some kind of rotation like this, is pretty balanced scoring by the end of your year. And that's what you want. Like, you may still think, well, 18.4, he's still the highest. I'll make him an A more times than not. But there will be times where he's not even a key player, or he's a D or something. That sounds like a good idea. So you're going to do some kind of a rotation in your key players. That is also the case if there are 3 high scorers. Let's say you have Bird, McHale, Parrish. Sometimes you will, or let's say Magic, Worthy, and Jabbar. Okay? Sometimes you might want Bird to be the A. Sometimes you want McHale to be the B. Sometimes you want Parrish to be the C. Well, some games you might want McHale to be the B, Parrish to be the A, Bird to be the C. Sometimes you will do it the other way. Sometimes you might say, I want Bird to be the A, I want McHale to be the B, but I want Johnson to be the C this time. So Parrish is then not a key player. You can do the same with LA and with Michael Cooper or Byron Scott or someone like that, or Bob McAdoo or Rambis or someone like that. You can have a rotation and it works. It's more of, imagine this like your coaching strategy for the evening. And so you can do it like that, and I think it's a good idea. They can be starters or backups, and it works. So that's how you do the key players, which is a pretty cool thing. Now, I don't know if you can see this or not. I am hoping, if not, and you have the set, you can pull out Dallas and look, because before the game, you also, under 3F, which is right here, You also want to write their 3-point frequency. You don't have to do it for all. What I do is I look, who's my star? Star means volume. It means they hit the most threes in the year. Jason Kidd for Dallas is the star for 3-point frequency. That means volume. But when I want to look at high, second high, and third high, which I'm going to mark with an H, 2H, and 3H, I look at the letters. So I want to look, are there any A's? Yes, Deshaun Stevenson is an A. So he's going to be high. Now, A, B, C, D, E, F. Now we're talking about frequency, not volume, which is why they're not the same. Your star can be the highest. He can be the guy with the most volume, but he can also be the guy with the most frequency as well. I'm thinking of someone like Steph Curry. That is very likely. So do I have any more A's? Yes. Beaubois is an A. So I'm just going down the list. Beaubois is an A. So he will be my second high. And are there any more A's? Yes. Peja Stojakovic is an A, but he is not in this game. So now we search for B's. Start at the top. Jason Kidd is a B. Okay, so he's also the third high. So Jason Kidd is the star in the third high. Deshaun Stevenson is the high, and Beaubois is the 2 high, okay? The game, especially on the pace play charts, the game will sometimes ask you for a shot to be made, shot, or missed by the star 3-point frequency, the high 3-point frequency, the second high 3-point frequency, and the third high 3-point frequency. I write them right here. That way, I don't have to go through the roster again during the game. Let's see who they are for LA. For LA, the frequency, the guy who made the most 3-pointers is Kobe Bryant. So he is the star. Who has the highest letter? Also Bryant. He's a B. So Bryant is going to be the star, and he's going to be the high. Let's see if there are any other Bs. There are. Shannon Brown is the highest letter after Kobe Bryant. I put Shannon Brown here somewhere. Yeah, he's playing. So he's the second high. Are there any other Bs? Yes. Sasha Vukovic. Oh, God, excuse me for the Balkan European names. Even as an Illinois fan, you would think I would know how to say the Balkan names correctly. However, I don't. So he's not playing. Okay, so no more Bs. So let's see if there are any Cs. Yes. Peace/Artest is the highest C, so he's going to be our third high. So now, again, when these are called upon, you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to check the rosters. It is all right there. That's what we want, definitely. That makes it a lot easier. So this is basically how you start the game. Again, the ticks are right there. When they occur in the game, I'm just going to mark them off. And rebounds, you guys basically know how to keep score, but rebounds, I usually put X's and O's. X is defense, O is offense as well. Is there anything else on the score sheet that I need to tell you? I just really wanted to, I know you want to see the game in action, and that is probably what we're going to do next if we don't do the quick play rules next, which we may actually do, because I had someone ask about that other day, and I definitely want to explain them in the next video, which will probably be tomorrow. So the quick play rules we'll discuss then. The score trackers right here. This should explain everything. I really wanted to go through the idea of the key players and how they should work, the idea of having a full roster. In college, they have much smaller rosters. So you may only have 12 players for the whole year, and obviously everyone's not going to get in every game. So in college, if you have 10 players, I'm kind of okay with that. There will be a little bit of reallocation. If you don't know what reallocation is, it's all over the book at the bottom of every fact card. Like, let's say we didn't have Stojakovic in the game, right? So if Stojakovic comes up on a Dallas chart somewhere, we need to reallocate that action. It could be a shot, it could be a made shot, it could be a missed shot, it could be a rebound, it could be an assist, it could be a steal, it could be a turnover, it could be a lot of things. So you would pull one of your discarded cards or a new card. It's totally up to you. I use the cards that I've already played because I just feel like maybe sometimes I don't want to use a new card on reallocation. You pull that card, you look at the very bottom of the card, and it will tell you a position which is going to get that stat. So that shot, that assist, that rebound, however it is. If it's supposed to be Stojakovic on the chart and he's not in the game, you just reallocate real fast, you mark down the stat. That's it. There are rules in the game for playing safe. There are rules in the game for playing as if a player is out or if he has actually fouled out. There are rules for that as well in reallocation. We'll get into that more, I think, when we actually do gameplay. This is running up against a little over half an hour so far, and so I'm glad we had this time. This really normally isn't going to take you 5 minutes max, but I wanted to really spend some time in it because how you set the game up is very important. And even if you're going to do the ticks somewhere else and you're not going to use our score sheets, you still have to remember when you're going to do the pace plays, which are in gray at 12 in every pro quarter. And then there's a grayed out box at 29, the fourth quarter, which is where the clutch time begins. And I explained that a little bit earlier. Okay, so this explains how you basically set the game up. So this has been ST Patrick for Matchup Pro Basketball. And thank you guys very much for spending a little bit of time with me this evening going over the pregame information. It's interesting. It reminds me of my childhood in a way where our local station, FRX, that their tagline was always, "Your information station." And as an 8-year-old, as a 12-year-old, as a 16-year-old, it was not the most exciting radio station, as you can imagine. It was basically news and artists such as Andy Williams and Perry Como. Now, I might even like that now, but back then I was not as into it. But they also had our high school baseball games, our high school basketball games, our high school football games. So it was one of those local stations, and it was very important. So every time I hear the word information, I always think of your information station. And yeah, as a lot of our sports do, it brings us back to when we were kids, and it's very nostalgic. And this is one of the reasons why I love these games. I love spending time with you guys talking about these games. IndyCon is in less than 2 weeks, by the way, where I'll be able to see a lot of you, and we are so excited to see a lot of you again. It was so much fun last year, so much fun, and we are looking forward to seeing you guys again. So if you're going to be there, awesome. If you're anywhere within driving range of Auburn, Indiana, which is in the northeastern corner of Indiana, probably 30 minutes off of I-80, maybe not even that much, I suggest being here in about 2 weeks. It is such a good time. But next time we gather, we'll probably be showing you some quick play. So let's do that next time. And I will see you later. If you guys have any questions, I forgot to tell you, you can email me at sportssimmagazine@gmail.com or matchup basketball game. Just no hyphens, all words. This would actually be easier to get it at the basketball email address. matchupbasketballgame@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. I can probably answer the most common one before you write it, which is not a bad idea either. When are you going to do such and such year for pro or for college? The answer is we're trying not to plan too far in advance yet. We kind of want to see what people say. We want some feedback on the seasons. 2011 is the one we started with because, as I've explained multiple times out there in the wild, it is the mean of NBA history. It is supposedly the most statistically average year in NBA history. Now, of course, it depends on the stat, but overall, this season was the easiest to sort of plan the game around because it's the main line. It's straight even. That's why we started here. It's not necessarily, I was going to say it's not a classic NBA year, but it really is. It's really a cool year. I mean, Dallas wins the championship over, the beloved and hated Heatles. It's the first year LeBron's in Miami. But the best record in the NBA were the Chicago Bulls. And Derrick Rose, who was a hometown Chicago kid, playing with his hometown NBA team, was the MVP that season. Dwight Howard, Orlando, is the Defensive Player of the Year. Lamar Odom is the Sixth Man of the Year. LA was fantastic. Dallas was really good and then won the championship. Bulls are very good. Orlando is good, not great. The Spurs are very good this year still, although Tim Duncan was sort of on the downward slope at this time, and Manu Ginobili is really the star of this Spurs team. But Boston still had Garnett, Pierce, Rondo, and Allen. The Bulls had Rose, Luol Deng, Carlos Boozer, who probably had a rough weekend this weekend, and Joakim Noah. LA obviously still has Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol. So you're seeing a lot of the stars in this year. You're also seeing this is sort of a time where 90s basketball meets the basketball that you're seeing right now halfway. So you're still seeing remnants. We gave out for free Atlanta and Orlando. You're probably going to see some low-scoring games with Atlanta and Orlando because it's kind of that 90s, early 2000s era hanging on. We hadn't yet got to the point where teams had said, we're just going to jack up the three because points-wise, in the long run, if we hit enough of them, we'll get more points than if we keep shooting twos. So we haven't gotten there yet, but you will see some high-scoring teams. I think the Nuggets were the highest-scoring team of this year, and they aren't high-scoring compared to what you would see now. They're about average, but there are some teams still in the low 90s as an average, which means they're going to play a lot of games in the 80s. So that's our 90s hangover still. But it's an interesting season for that reason. It's Yao Ming's last with the Rockets, and it is Jerry Sloan's last as the coach of the Utah Jazz. So it really is an interesting year for that reason. But if you're going to ask, well, what about 1986? Well, what about the ABA? What about, all of it is coming. Our goal is to do every year, and in college, our goal is to do every year while also rotating back. So the next set that's going to be released is 1985 College. It will give you 30 teams, and then we'll do a few more years, and then we'll rotate back to 1985 Volume 2. And then we'll do 5 to 10 more sets, and then we'll rotate back to 1985 Volume 3, and then a Volume 2 of some other year as well. So we are going to keep sort of rotating back 3 or 4 times depending on how much of a certain year. And I know that certain years are much more popular than others. 85 seems to be very popular. I can tell you a little bit of the order. In the NBA, it's going to be 2011, then 1967, I think, and then we will move up to 1983. Now, 2026, this the one we're in right now, I think they have about 10 more games, and then the playoffs begins. So there's a chance that we move 2026 into the slot right after 1967. Same with college. In college, we're going from 1985 to 1989 to 2005. But 2026, the current season, is probably going to get pushed in there potentially after 85 or potentially after 89. So we're going to be ready for both as well. Now, kind of like we do with the college football game as well, we definitely want to make sure that we get the seasons out there that just end. So the new seasons will be out in a timely manner. That should not be like next fall. It should be out in a decent amount of time, maybe a month or two after the season actually ends. That is the plan. I hope you guys are along with it. This is going to be a very long ride. For anyone out there even who has said, well, 2011, it's not my favorite season. I'm more of an 80s guy. I mean, I get that and I understand. It would be interesting for you to get the season and at least sort of learn the concepts and learn the game. The college 1985 will be out in, I'm going to guess, 2 to 3 weeks maximum. That one is also fun, and there's a lot to explain then when we get there. We'll have a discussion about that as well. I'll probably be on some other shows too. I'll probably be on with Dave Gardner. I will probably be on with James Cast. I still have to reschedule with Grant Fines at some point. And there may be a few others too. I might be on with John Alexander to talk about this as well. There might be a few other things that we do. Not 100% sure when or where yet, but I definitely wanted to get this out to you to come on to talk to you about how to set up a game. So here we are. Thank you guys very much. Again, if you have any questions, matchupbasketballgame@gmail.com. As I say to end my history podcast, from the other side of the mountain, on the best side of midnight, I wish you peace.